Are you Real ID ready? Well, I was, because I was in the airport and I saw these signs. It said I was going to need a Real ID right away. It was for travel. It was going to be required. And I bought into it. I went home, I went to the DMV, and I got myself a Real ID. And I called my friend. I said, I have my Real ID. Do you have yours? And she said, I will never, ever get one of those. And I asked her, why not? And that took me down a rabbit hole. So I started to learn more and more and more. And what I learned was absolutely shocking. It led me to make this video, which is part 5 of a series I started a couple years ago, Something Is Not Right. And then I had to make part 6 because we're being led, we're being fooled into something absolutely horrifying. I wish this wasn't true. I wish I was making this up. This is after 2 months of research. What you're going to see is undeniably true. The Real ID is real bad.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
In the UK, there's hundreds of thousands of people in the streets protesting the mandatory digital ID that is starting on January 1st. But Americans are not protesting in the street because they don't even realize what they have in their pocket. They think that digital ID is a good thing. They don't understand it pings the government every time they take it out and use it. And they don't understand that it linked them to a global identification system.
Andrew, you've been a leader in the UK in pushing back against Starmer's tyrannical overreach.
It's been clear to me for quite some time that the social models selected by the world's elites behind the scenes is the Chinese social credit score system. They've decided that's the desirable social model for the world, and our governments around the world are in lockstep once again, implementing a policy which they've never sold to the people. It wasn't in their manifestos. It's just being implemented surreptitiously.
In China, one set of scores could determine your fate. A nationwide surveillance system tracking the behavior of every single citizen.
So we're here in Urumqi, which is the capital of Xinjiang, in a market downtown. The security here is incredibly tight. There are armored cars on the street, police stations on every corner, and tons of surveillance cameras. In the past year, police have stepped up security. The region is now under what's probably the most intense government surveillance in the world. Here, China is experimenting with futuristic spying technologies.
也没有具体的法律规定，没有它的一些尺寸，然后就通过监控来指定抓什么样的人。很多人他不知道为什么被抓，不知道把他送到哪里，不知道什么时候放出来。看第二天醒来以后，我们觉得是在美国很安全。
I am a lifetime research scientist. I worked for 32 years in the pharmaceutical industry and biotech. My most senior positions were at Pfizer. I was vice president and worldwide head of research in allergic and respiratory diseases. It is a takeover, it's a global coup. And I've explained that if you sign up for digital ID, it'll be the last really important decision you make, because your digital ID will be the only thing that your governments, institutions, and anybody authorized by those holding power will recognize you through. So you won't exist anymore. You'll be replaced by a QR code. You are not a number, you're an address to some resources. And that makes it particularly dangerous because those resources can be edited, and one of those fields for sure will be your vaccination status. And I'm absolutely sure, because I've seen it written down in multiple documents, that your digital ID will only remain valid if you comply with the conditions of validity. So one of them will be, have you had your latest recommended or mandated jabs? And because of the fact that I'm qualified in toxicology and worked for decades with others in what's called rational drug design, when I look at these jabs, the constituents, I am certain, formally certain, that they were designed to hurt you. And so, the digital ID will lose validity unless you roll your sleeve up. You must see that's designed to injure and I believe ultimately kill you. But you won't be able to escape that, because all your money will also be associated with your digital ID. So let's say you've gone to a supermarket, you want to buy a drink and a sandwich. You'll beat them through and it'll say, how do you pay? And it'll say, present your digital ID. And the cash register, as it were, the cashless system, won't proceed until you show it your QR code. And if you're not vaccinated, and if that means your digital ID is not valid, it will say, sorry, transaction refused. The merchant will not be able to sell you the product.
Choice, as in a choice to make. There's always consequences for choice. You and I no longer, listen to me, you don't no longer live in a world that you think you're going to run free. You're going to have to learn to plant your flag and say, this is where it stops. My brother and sister in Christ, you have a choice, and there are consequences for making the wrong one. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. You need to make sure you do your homework. It's not up to me to proclaim what the president is or is not doing. That executive order that was signed in March to go to a digital currency, you can dismiss it. You can just say, ain't got nothing to do with me. You may even be foolish enough to think that digital currency is your answer. Do as you please. Go back and read that document. Oh, you think we live in a world where, oh man, don't worry about it, Father. It's football season. Life's going to be good. We got this. Don't you worry about it. I'm telling you what's coming. I'm telling you, if you do not pick your head up, and you and I do not learn to start praying, that we don't learn to go back to confession, and you don't go to adoration and spend some time, and you don't go to the sacraments so that you can receive the grace, you're not going to have your head up long enough to understand that you can't make the decision. Ask yourself this question. Why in the Sam Hill would the saints warn you and I, Pio, Faustina, Pius, and Paul, two of our best popes, say that there's going to be a warning so that God can warn you of what is to come? If there wasn't a choice for you to make once it comes, why would you illuminate my head if it wasn't to tell me what is about to come? There would be no reason. I am begging you to pick your head up. I am begging you to make the right choice. I am begging you to learn to bend your knee, and you and I need to come together and pray as one. The closer you stay to Christ, the better your decisions will be, the better choice you will make. Listen to what I'm telling you. The world is out of control. Do you not see that? Oh my God. Did he not tell us what's good is going to be bad and what bad is no good?
The Citizens Council for Health Freedom is the organization that I am co-founder and president of. People have said, well, I got a passport. They know everything anyway. Oh, no. No. And your passport is not a real ID. They want the real ID so bad because they don't have the real ID. So never think that they've got something if they're coercing you into getting it. They don't have it. So
explain the difference. Why does this give them access? Because they do have databases, but go ahead, explain the whole thing.
it will be a card which you will need for every transaction in your life. They've got a plan, and they told Congress their plan on December 5th, 2023.
What was their plan?
Their plan is to digitize the Real ID, put it on your phone, and have remote real-time access to it.
This whole facial tracking system, are these things connected in any way?
Yeah, they are connected because the first thing, like I said, for Real ID is actually a facial scan. I think they're trying to desensitize the American public, but they're also training their systems, right? So I just saw a banner, one of those big, tall, 7-foot banners from Delta, and it said, "One look and you're on." They're meant to make you think this is just convenient for you and this is just very easy, but they're training you to be compliant. And like I like to say about biometrics is that they have claimed a right to collect and catalog the coordinates of your body for their control of your life. And that's what this is, and that's how people should look at it. We should not submit to this. They say that this image is submitted to Customs and Border Control. So it's submitted, right?
Right.
It's not just deleted.
Right.
And then they say, but you can opt out if you want. Everybody should be opting out all the time.
Okay. What would you recommend for people that are in states, they don't have their Real ID yet? What is your advice to them? What should they do?
So 2 things. One, if they have their Real ID, and one, if they don't have their Real ID. If they don't have a Real ID, then they should never get one, ever.
Okay.
And if they are afraid about flying, they should go get a passport or a passport card. Refuse the Real ID at all costs because they are setting up the system, the biometric digital control system, essentially bars, prison bars for all of us, and this net is closing, and we must stop them from doing it. So that's the most important thing that you can do. You should tell your state legislators and your members of Congress. So I have been to Washington, D.C., and they're like, 3 months ago, they said, we're not hearing from anybody. I said, we're going to change that. We're going to change that.
Advanced military weapons and equipment designed for the battlefield are making their way to small-town police departments across the United States. NSA-style mass surveillance is enabling local police departments to gather vast quantities of sensitive information about each and every one of us in a way that was never previously possible, resulting in the collection of mass quantities of data about where Americans have gone. Did you know this was happening? When Mike Katz-Lakabe asked his local police department for information about the plate reader data they had on him, this is what they got. In addition to the date, time, and location, the police department had photographs that captured where he was going and often who he was with. The second photo from the top is a picture of Mike and his 2 daughters getting out of their car in their own driveway. Mike hasn't done anything wrong. Why is it okay that the government is keeping all of this information? At the same time, the federal government is collecting all of these individual pots of data and pooling them together into one vast database. Through a technique known as a cell tower dump, law enforcement agents can uncover who was using one or more cell towers at a particular time, a technique which has been known to reveal the location of tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of people. Also, using a device known as a stingray, law enforcement agents can send tracking signals inside people's houses to identify the cell phones located there. History has shown that once the police have massive quantities of data tracking the movements of innocent people, it gets abused, maybe for blackmail, maybe for political advantage, or maybe for simple voyeurism.
It's all about freedom. We will not have freedom if we have a national ID card that can track us everywhere and control what we can and cannot do. And so you need to talk to your state legislators. You need to talk to members of Congress. And if you go to refuserealid.org, we also have just a place you can click on and just send some automatic automated messages to your members of Congress. And please use social media. This is one of the best things. Share our documents on social media.
Yeah.
Here's 7 reasons to repeal, but there's also the make a switch. So we have instructions to help you, if you have a Real ID, to get out of the Real ID.
Here we are. We've arrived. Let's go. That's me. I've got an appointment.
I have a Real ID and I would like the state ID, the standard state ID.
That seemed to go pretty smoothly. She just said yes, and she said it'll have to say federally non-compliant on the ID. I said yes. So what she said to do was to simply not check the Real ID option here. I didn't think I could fill out this form at home because this was the only option, but I'm not going to check out. I'm not going to do what I just did. Did not know this was a touchscreen. On this screen now, it says, what would you like to update? Gives me a bunch of options I do not want. So I'm going to click something else, and I'm going to say, I would like to go back to having a standard state ID. So she said this was a first. She'd never encountered this before. And I'm hoping that the DMV encounters this more and more. Thank you. So shame on me. I left the window thinking I was done. The DMV worker I just spoke to, who said that she had to call headquarters as the final thing she needed to do to have them remove the Real ID from my license. I left, and she came and found me outside the DMV, and she said, I need to give you this to replace your license, and you need to give me your Real ID license and use this temporarily until the new old one comes in the mail.
So just a couple weeks ago, I was very honored and blessed to give a talk at the Pro-Family Legislative Exchange Council's conference, and they asked me to speak about digital ID. There are hundreds of lawmakers from across the country there, and almost all of them, all the ones that I talked to, were extremely concerned about this, trying to figure out ways to protect the people of their states from this looming disaster. I don't know what else to call it. And by some sort of divine providence, coincidence, whatever you want to call it, I got a call that same day from Senator Joe Nicola, who joins us today. He's a senator from Missouri. Why do we need a bill to protect us from this digital ID scheme?
Well, I think you, in your monologue there, just really nailed it. We're on a slippery slope here. Once we get, in my opinion, once we get a digital ID that's government issued, and we already have a federal one with the Real ID, and then we get a digital currency that all this is going to be connected together. And once we have a digital ID, and all these pieces come together and are connected to that digital ID, our freedom and liberty is over.
It doesn't take a majority to push back against this stuff. It takes a strong and determined minority. 8, 10, 12% of people opt out of the TSA screening, which we can still legally do. We don't have to do the Face ID. By the way, they're not taking your picture. They're scanning your face in order to identify you on any CCTV around the world. If 10% of Americans opt out of that system, say, no, I'm not going to do it. When it comes time to think about mandating it, they're going to realize, okay, there'll be a small but vocal minority, including maybe a handful of influential people who will make noise about not being able to travel. We don't want to deal with that. We're not going to force it on people.
Now, a valid digital ID, just like a valid passport, is today required to cross a border. And I have no problem with a passport, of course. But I'd be pretty cross if to buy petrol I had to show my passport, or to buy a bottle of water I had to show my passport. But that is what's coming. You'll have to show your digital ID. If you said hurty words on the internet, you might find that your digital money doesn't work. If you're outside of your 15-minute zone and you're not authorized to be, you will not be able to buy anything. That's what's coming. It's the ultimate tool of slavery, the digital. It's called the digital gulag by other people. I think that's not a bad phrase. And the way to stop that happening is to put your foot down and don't sign up for it. If they tell you, say you're, if it's the government, they might say we're not going to give you benefits unless you sign up for digital ID. I can't help that. I'm going to tell you, you at this point have to choose. Obviously going to engineer it so that you'll feel you can't refuse. If you sign up for it, your life is going to end. Your free life is going to end.
If we go into digital ID, that opens Pandora's box to everything else that will be inflicted upon us. If we accept the tyranny of digital ID for an easy life, it won't be an easy life. It will be a life that will be barely worth living if we accept this. And I come back to what I said at the beginning, that if we say yes to digital ID, we'll be in a situation where we'll never be able to say no to our governments ever again. And we're heading very fast to the Chinese social credit scoring system, which will be inflicted upon us with all the control mechanisms that comes with it.
This is what's wild is we're feeding the system. I mean, I'm
right.
like, get rid of the Apple Watch.
Voluntarily.
Get rid of the sleep studies that are taking place through my app. Get rid of checking in at TSA and letting them scan my face. Stop using my phone to scan my face. Opt out of Real ID and just use your passport when you're flying. I mean, these to me are the things that we need to do to create friction to slow this system down. But the next generation, when I talk to any Gen Zer, they go, why do we need privacy? What's the point of privacy? Is that even a Christian idea? Privacy? Like, why shouldn't we just be transparent? Why should we care that people are listening to our conversations? I mean, maybe we shouldn't be saying the things we don't want people to hear. I mean, that's the sort of ethical.
I have nothing to hide. I'm transparent.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything bad.
Yeah.
So why should I be concerned about privacy?
So what would you say about why the next generation should care about their privacy?
So I like to talk sometimes about the home as a sanctuary, as a way to get at this notion of why privacy is important. Because people do say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I have nothing to hide. I want to be transparent in everything I do because I'm going to be judged on my interior life as well as my exterior behaviors. So isn't that a Christian virtue to not care about privacy? But we do care about the intimacy of the home, right? There are certain ideas, people, and things that a good father would not invite into his home to interact and to be with and to listen to the intimate conversations that he is having with his own children or that he is having with his wife when they're getting ready for bed, right? Everyone understands that the home as a sanctuary, as a space of intimacy, is a good thing. It's something worth preserving. Well, through the use of these digital technologies, we are inviting all kinds of influences, all kinds of people, all kinds of ideas into our home in ways that we would never do with, real persons or things, or physical things in the real world. We're allowing things in the digital world to basically intrude upon our personal lives in that way. So that can be another way of framing it for people, that they intuitively understand. Just because I want to keep something within the intimacy of the home doesn't mean there's something wrong with it.
Right.
It just means that is a form of human interaction and intimacy that should be respected by the external world. And political, economic, financial interests that want to have access to all of that information in order to basically exploit it in various ways. We wouldn't invite those people to listen in on our conversations with our wife. Why would we allow them to do it through the use of digital technologies.
Yeah.
All right, you naysayers, let's debunk some of this defeatist mentality and tackle some excuses.
Your face is on camera anyways, so who cares? Or passports are basically the same thing.
Wrong? Wrong. Random cameras in public are not the same as a single federally controlled identification system that ties your daily life to a national database. Once your ID is unified under Real ID, every card swipe, every scan, every checkpoint, everything feeds that system. You're not just on camera, you're being tracked, linked, and analyzed in ways that you can't even see. And no, a passport is not the same thing. Passports are for international travel, and they come with very strict privacy protections. They do not force your DMV to share info with 50 other states. They're not a permission slip for your daily life. Real ID is. And the DHS can expand its use whenever they want. That's mission creep, and it's baked in. Now, let's talk about identity versus national ID. And let's be very clear, identity itself is not the problem. We all use ID to live a normal life. We sign contracts, we pick up packages, we open accounts. That's how modern society works. But here's the difference. In a free country, ID is meant to build trust, not grant or deny your fundamental rights. A national ID flips that script, and now you're asking for permission to participate, and you're proving if you're worthy of the access. Identity should protect you from fraud, not become a tool for blanket surveillance under the guise of safety. There's a big difference, and once you centralize it, there is no going back. We're already headed towards a surveillance society. We don't need to advance it faster.
You know, this has been a long time coming, but in September, they proposed a rule at the end of the Biden administration. A progressive enforcement rule. Their plan to spend the next 2 years, starting on May 7th of 2025, progressively enforcing Real ID.
Hi, I'm Christine Ulm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. If you plan on traveling, we need your help to prevent delays and to prove your identity. Get a Real ID. Starting May 7th, you will need a Real ID to travel by air or to visit federal buildings in the United States.
Well, the lies just continued. So Trump's Secretary of DHS, Christine Ulm, she lied on April 25 when she said, you have to have a Real ID to fly. Well, she knew that she had a 2-year progressive enforcement here, but she didn't bother to tell anybody. And she didn't tell anybody about the other kind of IDs that you could use. She said you need a Real ID to fly. She lied again on May 7th when she said, if you come to the airport today without a Real ID, you won't be able to fly. There are actually 16 different identification cards that are allowed by the TSA. You can just look up acceptable identification TSA and you will find them all. You can also go to refuserealid.org and we have a link to those 16 different identifications. More recently, in November, the TSA put out a notice of this new fee for a traveler program. Well, we'll talk about how it's not really a fee, it's a fine, and it's not really a traveler program. And then they put out a press release shortly after that, which talked about a $45 fee option, but it's not really an option if you want to fly. What other tall tales could come out next when they are not successful? Because that's our plan. We are not going to let them be successful with bringing us a digital ID in this country for control of all of life.
These IDs keep our country safe because they help prevent fraud and they enhance security.
Was never about safety. They claim that Real ID was born from 9/11, but the 9/11 Commission barely gave the idea even 3/4 of a page in an entire report over 100 pages long. They never explained how a national ID would have stopped anything. The hijackers used valid IDs. They didn't slip through licensing loopholes. They exploited a broken security system. And for the TSA, the same folks pushing show your papers, undercover tests prove they fail up to 95% of the time to catch banned weapons and explosives. That's billions of dollars wasted, your privacy shredded, and for what? Fake safety?
The TSA says time is up.
You're good to go.
Starting on February 1st, if you don't have a Real ID, the TSA says a temporary pass at the airport will cost you $45 to fly domestically. That new non-refundable fee more than double the $18 payment the TSA recently announced, designed to cover additional technology and security costs.
And we want to make sure that we know who is traveling, and we are exercising all options to make sure that the system is safe.
The TSA says the fee can be paid in advance, online, or in person at the airport, and will be valid for just 10 days if you're flying and don't have a real ID. After that, travelers will have to pay yet again. Now, the TSA says more than 94% of passengers are already using real IDs or other acceptable forms of ID, like a passport or military ID.
So the digital ID eventually will be tied to your face scan, your iris scan, your fingerprint, this biometric identification. It will be used for more and more transactions, not just going through TSA at the airport, but for all kinds of ordinary things that we do. And so it's tracking and gathering data on you all the time. It's also going to be tied into financial information, private health related information, all kinds of things that can be used as carrots and sticks to control your behavior.
Yeah.
Once digital IDs are tied up and bound up with central bank digital currencies, which is another thing that we should talk about. Basically, you have a system of total surveillance and total control through means of basically financial control that the totalitarian systems of the 20th century couldn't even dream of having.
India's Aadhaar is a perfect example of what can happen when a digital ID system grows too fast and too big to control. Launched in 2009, Aadhaar is the world's largest digital identity system, holding the fingerprints, iris scans, and demographic data of over 1.3 billion people. As the system expanded, so did the problems. Although Aadhaar was meant to be voluntary, it quickly became the standard for things like bank accounts, SIM cards, school enrollments, and even hospital access. The Indian Supreme Court eventually ruled that the government couldn't force Aadhaar for every service, but by then, it had already become impossible to live without it. In 2018 alone, more than 200 government websites accidentally exposed citizens' Aadhaar numbers, along with linked information such as names, bank details, and addresses. On top of that, poor quality scanners, network issues, and worn or damaged fingerprints of the physical workforce left many people without their food rations or other welfare benefits. If India's challenge was scale, Nigeria's problem is trust. In 2012, Nigeria launched its National Identity Number, or NIN, a digital ID meant to unify citizen records and cut down on fraud. Over the next decade, it became tied to everything from bank accounts to SIM cards. And Nigerians weren't exactly given a choice. In 2021, the government ordered citizens to link their SIM cards to their NIN or risk losing mobile service altogether. That sparked chaos. People queued for hours at registration centers, and many communities with poor connectivity struggled to enroll. Then came the data security scandals. In 2024, cybersecurity researchers found that personal information from the National ID database were being sold online for just a few dollars per record. For many Nigerians, this was the breaking point. When digital identity is tied to basic connectivity and security cannot be guaranteed, people stop trusting not just the system, but the state behind it.
You know, hacking, I think, is a major concern. And in fact, I think it'll be used as a pretext to move us one step further down this road to digital tyranny. But I think what people need to understand really at the end of the day about a digital ID is the digital ID itself is not the problem. It is the vehicle that will make all of the other stuff not just possible, but almost inevitable. Think of it like an on-ramp to a superhighway that has no exits. Once you get on that on-ramp, you can't turn around. There's nowhere to get off. And you don't have to speculate about what they want to do because they've already told you. Just listen to some of the sessions as a World Economic Forum. Listen to Yuval Noah Harari with his nonsense about Homo Deus and surveillance under the skin. Pick up a copy of Klaus Schwab's book on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. He summarizes this in one sentence. He says it's a fusion of all digital, physical, biological identities. And then he breaks that down in the book. He talks about mandatory government brain scans to determine whether you're thinking thoughts that might represent a security risk. I mean, that's the kind of nightmarish future that these megalomaniacs and totalitarians have planned for us. And the digital ID is the critical piece of the puzzle that's going to make it not just all possible, but inevitable.
Picture this, you are sipping your cafe sedan in Saigon and scrolling your banking app, and boom, your bank account vanishes in thin air. No email, no warning, just a digital black hole where your money used to be. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, for millions in Vietnam, it's a reality, as Vietnam wiped out over 86 million bank accounts. That's right, 86 million. The official narrative says it's about security and efficiency, but come on. This screams of the World Economic Forum playbook, a stealth strike in the Great Reset Wars. Jump over to Thailand and you'll see the same script playing out. Thailand is rolling into their second phase of the digital IDs, mandating biometrics for work permits, visas, and banking. One British I talked to is facing a 2-month banking delay because his facial scan didn't match. Turns out the system flagged his beard as suspicious.
Vietnam just froze 86 million bank accounts overnight. That's nearly the entire population of the country. They introduced mandatory biometric verification, or you'd lose access to your money. This all started on September 1st, when accounts without facial scans or fingerprints were just deleted. I actually have an account in Vietnam. Well, I used to, I no longer do. It's just gone. Was there money in it? I'm not sure. No way to find out. There are no remote options, nothing you can do. Now you might be wondering, okay, I'm not Vietnamese, I haven't got an account in Vietnam, so why does this matter to Americans? Because this is not isolated. Similar moves are happening globally. The same biometric systems being pushed in the US are the systems they used in Vietnam.
Twila, thank you so much for your incredible work. I know you're in Washington, D.C., putting your money where your mouth is, as they say, and meeting with your representatives right now and our national representatives to get to the bottom of this. Everybody get involved. Go to refusetherealid.org right now. Share this information. Reach out to your representatives. This is that moment. This is what really essentially the Maha movement is about, right? Getting involved. We are involved. The government is listening to us. We want to show pushback. We want their phones ringing off the hook. That's how you make a difference. That's what makes change, not because you elected some official that's going to go in and do this job for you. You have the voice. You have the power.
Can and should push back against this mandate. Our future and our children's futures depend on it. And if you think this is all far-fetched, we can take a look at Europe. Many European countries already run national identification systems that control every aspect of life: banking, travel, housing, and healthcare. You're not a citizen anymore. You're literally a QR code waiting for approval. And what's the next step? Think about carbon credits and social scores. They're already testing it. When every swipe ties back to your national ID, the same system can decide if you've driven too far, eaten too much, tried the wrong food, or used up your carbon allowance. Suddenly, your ID isn't a tool, it's a leash. Once you comply, it's generational. Your kids will never know what real freedom felt like. So no, let's not be like Europe. Let's not hand over our freedom just to save 5 minutes at the airport. We should stand up and say, my rights are not up for negotiation.
Why would you and I be chosen? Why us? Why now? Because time is short and of the essence. My brothers in Christ, I am not a doomsayer. I am not a soothsayer. I do not drink Kool-Aid. All I know is logical, that if the good Lord does not stick his finger in what we're doing, we will not see the forest for the trees. And you're telling me that we live in a good world? Do what you and I do best. Stay close to the church. Hang in there, my brothers and sisters in Christ. I'm telling you, the teachings of the church are true. Make the right choices, and the only way you can make it is stay close to them. You keep your head up. You finish what we started. Ask yourself, why now? Why us? Why you? Why me? Because he's called us. Amen.
It's real easy right now, folks. There's a window of time where we can act. If we have a real ID, go to the DMV, ask for a standard state license. Real simple. Even more simple, if you don't have a real ID, just do nothing. Don't get one. This is a simple way to fight back right now, and things are going to get so much worse. So please watch the deep dive that I did and exposed things in Something Is Not Right, Part 6. We need to know what's going on in order to fight it. Click on Part 6, find out about more evil, because knowledge is power, and we need knowledge and courage now. God bless you.